This is Luthier's Tips, Tools and Training from Crimson Guitars. I'm Ben Crow, and this video is brought to you by acid and laziness. I got bored. This instrument has been kicking around for a while, and I've been playing with different ways to create a black finish on there. And the obvious one that I hadn't gone to is creating iron acetate to react with the tannins in the oak and turn it black. It's fun. It's a chemical reaction. It requires me dissolving 4/0 wire wool in vinegar and then leaving it for a day or two. And I've somehow never quite got around to doing that. While I was thinking the other day about potentially melting a guitar top with acid, think aliens, and you know, I want to do that. I'm thinking about texture a lot at the moment. I've realized that if I took some ferric chloride acid and mixed that with vinegar, that also makes iron acetate. Come on then. Burn it. So the plan here is to turn the entire body of this guitar, which is a version of the bog oak and gold leaf river guitar that I built on the channel quite some time ago, and incidentally is also the first attempt that I made, or at least this series of guitars is the first attempt I made at making 3D inlays. If this camera would focus, you'd be able to see that the inlays are, well, it's a layer of resin over gold leaf, but the gold leaf is sunk in the bottom of the inlay cavity. This camera sucks. It's not supposed to suck. I have carved away, created a textured finish based on very interesting ironwork, and each one of these areas is going to be gold leafed as well after the fact. The internal areas here and here will be gold leafed, and then on this one the domed section in the center will be gold leafed. On the one hand, you want cheap, nasty vinegar. It is acetic acid, generally sort of about 4% mixed into water, that gives vinegar its taste. Mixing with ferric chloride acid, which is commonly used to etch circuit boards, etc. Yeah, there we go. Acid plus acid equals iron acetate. You don't want to be a numpty and forget the protection, or put the glove on backwards like I tried to there. Now, if I were to mix this vinegar with the ferrochloride, it would do the job, and I could then paint it on. But I'm lazy, and after a few tests, because I've started testing things out beforehand, I've realized that you can actually just paint the vinegar on and then paint the ferrochloride on, and it still gives you the same result. I am using nylon bristled brushes, and well, let's go. This is the first time I've ever had to paint. I think this is the first time I've ever painted a guitar with a food condiment. Okay, so while that is still wet, go in with the ferrochloride, and there's an immediate result on the edge. Now, my initial thoughts with this guitar were that I wanted to go just insane with the finish. I wanted to have crazy texturing throughout. but in reality, as is ever the case, as the carving developed, I thought, no, everything else needs to be relatively clean and clear and pretty to accentuate what is happening with the carving. Now, as you can see, I've got a little bit of ferrochloride on the brush here from where I've been mixing the two together as we go, and it's already giving me the result I want. But I'm loving, because of the gold leaf, I'm loving the yellowish tint here, and some of that does actually come through in the end. Instant results. Vinegar over the top again, and I'm basically mixing this on the guitar. Now, if I had just mixed the ferrochloride with the vinegar, I'd be getting, as you can see on this side here, a blacker black. Not the blackest black, of course, but I would be getting a more boring black. Let's put it that way. While playing with this stuff, and kids don't play with acid at home, I came upon the result that you get from painting the ferrochloride over the top, and I liked it, so here we are. And once this has been on for some time, well, it goes very, very dark indeed. And here we are, 24 hours later, pretty much. And, well, I'm very, very happy with the result. So the reaction continued and continues. And as you can see, I also ended up doing the neck. At this point, the solution has dried. The process is either at an end or getting there, and you can see the yellowish tint that the ferrochloride brought in here. This is not necessarily the best way of achieving this finish. In fact, the best way to learn things is to put something out on the internet and have people who know better tell you what they know. So please tell me what you know. If you're interested in me doing a bunch of experiments and doing it properly, making iron acetate using wire wool and vinegar, utilizing tea. So if you are trying to get this result in something like maple that does not have a lot of tannins, make a very strong cup of tea, 4 tea bags to a cup, paint that on the wood, let it dry, and then go in with your iron acetate mix, and you get a similar result. There are any number of methods and techniques and mixes and percentages. This was, well, quick and dirty, and not necessarily safe, but it's got the result I wanted. Now, at this stage, there is a possibility that there is still a bit of reactive acid involved. And just in the interests of, safety, I need to neutralize that. And it's back to the kitchen for, another ingredient. Bicarbonate of soda in solution with a little bit of water. I'm going to wash the upper surface down, let it dry, and then it's on to finishing. Now, you need to raise the pH to sort of between 7 and 8. Obviously, I'm guessing. And what I'm hoping is that this process doesn't change too much of the character, take away too much of the yellowness that I like. If it does, I'm going to have to go in and add some staining. Which I think is probably going to be the case. We'll see. So you see this reaction? That sort of says to me that we've still got some active, some activity. Maybe I should be wearing gloves. Now, most woodworkers don't bother with this stage. They just put the finish on top and go for it. And that is what I was actually planning on doing. The fact that you're watching and judging made me think, I need to be a little bit more careful. And obviously, I went in with raw acids, so this is a slightly different situation than if you're just using a vinegar and wire wool mix. The fact that the reaction has stopped or slowed down says that most of the acid has now been turned into, the chemical reaction has happened, and the acid is basically gone. So instead of spraying it on, I'm applying it in this way, and that's removing the blotchy effect. Most people would just sand it down at this stage and apply an oil finish to bring it out. I am very happy with what this is turning into there. Now, the neckwood had far fewer tannins naturally occurring in the wood, and we're getting some of the character, some of the colour from the mahogany coming through, and I very much like that. As I said earlier, you can add more tannins to the process by painting a solution of tea onto the wood and then letting that dry. But in this case, I am very happy with how it's turning out. So I'm going to let this dry for a few hours, make sure that there's no excess moisture in the wood, and start playing with finish. A few hours later, and I'm going in with the Crimson Penetrating Guitar Finishing Oil. You can apply shellac as a base, but in this case, I didn't want to. I'm going to flood it with oil, and in the process flatten down any raised grain. Just by burnishing it. The thought being that I want a relatively open grain finish that feels like, well, essentially raw bog oak, which is what the original guitar was made out of. And then, well, it was flooded with a lot of high gloss lacquer. And I mean a lot. The bog oak that we had was particularly porous and had loads of cracks and shakes and things, and it sucked up coming up on 2 kilograms of lacquer, and that is after we sealed it with resins and things. It's a heavy guitar. Now I'm going to continuously add coat after coat of the oil until it starts sitting on the surface without sucking in too much, and then I leave it for about 10 minutes or so. It's relatively warm here at the moment, and then burnish it back until it feels almost touch dry. They cure for minimum 5-6 hours, and I can go again and add more as required. Obviously this isn't the final finish. As you can see, the resin here still needs a proper proper glossing, although putting some oil over the top does have rather a pleasing effect in the short term. So that's touch dry and looking great. So over the next few days I'm going to apply more finish and just build this up, burnish it, and get the final result that I'm after. There is also going to be a certain amount of polishing. I'm wondering if using the crimson fret rubbers would work quite nicely on that. They're abrasives after all, and I think they'll do it quite nicely. In the next video, in this mini build, I suppose, well, the calves. The thought is gold leaf in these divots, in that texture there, and on the domed area, on the flat bits. That might be a little bit much. I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. I do have other options. I could use rub and buff. I could use the crimson gold grain filler. What would you do? Let me know in the comments below. And most importantly, go away, make some sawdust. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the flip side.